All right, here I have Fighting Joe Lopez. I'm going to call you Fighting Joe because I had a CSM when I was in the army that we used to call Fighting Joe.
Okay.
So a good way to get this started is just I'm interested in hearing about the Joe Lopez story, how you got started in martial arts and how you got to where you are now.
Well, I started probably when I was early, like 8 or 9. I started doing judo, and I did that for about 4 years as a kid. And after that, I sort of left it and got into surfing and whatever. And then when I was about 17, I started again. All the boys up the beach started doing taekwondo, and we all joined the local taekwondo club because that was the nearest one and the only thing around. And I did that for a few years till I got my black belt. And then the guy I was with sort of didn't like the traditional side, so he joined up with this guy up in Byron Bay, Peter Burke, who had the USDA, which was more of a hybrid type. It was still traditional in the sense because we still did the patterns and everything, but he changed it all around. So we'd use our hands more like a boxer, and we started including grappling and all that sort of stuff as well. It was, back in those days, it wasn't like today, with the luxury of having mats and everything. We were lucky if we could get, 2 or 3 little gym mats and put them together and try and work on stuff. But I tell the guys today how lucky you are that you've got these really nice gyms with mats and wall pads and all that sort of stuff. We used to have to practice our breakfalls on wooden floors, which made our breakfalls really good.
Yeah, I love that. And it's also a nice thing to give your students everything that you didn't have before as well, though. So at what point did you find jiu-jitsu or mixed martial arts?
Well, I guess probably early 90s when, I seen the Gracies, I still got all those old VHS things. And, we got those. And everybody, like anybody that was in the martial arts said, man, I've got to learn this, and it was hard at that stage, I went and done a seminar with John Will, and that's how I got into it, and I loved it. I loved it. The hardest thing in those days were, especially where I was, it was really hard to get anybody to want to grapple with you because everybody was sort of going, it's all gay and all this sort of stuff. So you have to reach out to like the judo guys or wrestling guys and get them to sort of train with. And again, it was hard because you get the judo guys and you do this, and they go, "Oh no, you're not allowed to do this," and you go and train with the wrestlers. The first thing I want to do is not pull guard, but they take you down and you pull guard, and they go, "No, you can't go on your back." And I'd go, "No, but I feel comfortable on my back. This is where I want to be." So it was a real learning process, and again, it was. We just didn't have it. And I'm going back there where there was no YouTube or anything else. You'd have to buy books, and do it out of the books. And it was a different era, a different time, And I was still doing boxing. I was doing a lot of boxing at that stage, and the guys at the boxing gym, they were just. Like I said, they were the main guys that were sort of saying, you don't want to be touching men and all this sort of stuff. And it was a different era,
Who wins the prison fight, Joe? The jiu-jitsu guy or the boxer?
It's always the jiu-jitsu guy.
of course.
He's not going to take my back.
Yeah, you and I know that. Look, it's a great story, and it's good to show that the internet really has sped things up. Like you can get instructionals now. Like for a couple of $100, you could get a system from every jiu-jitsu position, takedown systems, striking systems, the whole lot. It's out there, and I don't think it's going to replace coaches like yourself, but the speed of information and the ability for people now to become champions, like from maybe like humble beginnings in a garage or a small regional gym has really exploded. And I was jumping off my seat when you guys won the belt, and I'm sure the rest of Australia was as well, because it really is a great story because of the fact that little gym in Wollongong, it's not a massive gym, like it doesn't have all the high performance equipment yet, but as the years go on, I'm sure you're adding more and more things. What's the biggest change that you think you've noticed in the last 10 years?
Well, I think that this new generation of mixed martial artists are mixed martial artists, because before it was a guy that had done wrestling, and he wanted to try his hand, so we do a bit of stand up. Where today's guys, they're like, especially at our gym, like we specialize in each system, and then we then got our mixed MMA group, where the guys that want to fight, they put it all together. And then there's kids now that have started, like say Colby, for example. He started with me when he was a kid, and he's gone through the whole process, where he wanted to compete and everything else. So I really steered him to jiu-jitsu, and especially in New South Wales, we've got the really strict governing rules of kids not being able to compete. So I always tell them, jiu-jitsu is going to be that thing where you can go and compete every weekend, and
How satisfying is that for you as a coach to have the kid? How satisfying was that for you, having one of your kids go through your program and you were able to kind of like watch him develop from scratch, to become a mixed martial arts competitor?
Well, it was great. Like same with Alex. Alex started with me. He did a little bit of wrestling when he was a kid, but there was a long break between the wrestling, because he was a kid, till he came to me when he was about 25, 26. And there's been. And I still enjoy doing the kids classes. A lot of trainers don't like it, but I find it really rewarding teaching the kids. I really like just instilling, not only teaching them how to fight, but just life skills, like basic things like saying please and thank you, saying hello and goodbye. They're real, if you, like I say, one of my favourite sayings at the gym is, if you can't do the little things right, how are you going to do the big things? From standing on a line to whatever, having your hands by your side, that discipline and that thing just is going to carry on to those kids' lives later on, or that's what I'm hoping they do, so instead of going the wrong way, they go the right way.
I love that, mate. And it's always those coaches that had clear boundaries that you remember when you're an adult too, where they're like, that's not how we behave here, all that kind of stuff. It is super duper important, and it's probably much more important than awesome fighting skills, even though I'm sure everybody that trains at freestyle MMA ends up with awesome fighting skills after a period of time. What is the one thing, because obviously Alex is very successful and you've got this new kid coming through, Colby's very successful. What's the one thing that you think is the most important thing that you can do for those guys to help them reach that extra 2% level that makes them champions as opposed to your average student?
Well, I really think, the first thing that guys need to do is they've got to be fit, because once you're fit, everything else comes in, because you can have a good technique, but you get tired and things happen and you get hurt. So the starting base is having a good fitness level, and then from there they can progress to the next level of their journey into the martial arts. So as I've got it from I think Eric Poulsen. He's sort of stated that your fitness is the mother of all techniques. Because it is. You've got to be fit, because if you're not, doesn't matter how good you are, the guy with the bigger gas tank's always going to win, you know. So, and I think you also think on a different level, because if you're not going to, if you're super fit, you don't need to worry about you getting tired. You can worry about what you need to do, and that plays a big part in the fighting game.
Well, there's actually good science behind that too. Once your heart rate gets above a certain level, you actually don't have the problem solving skills anymore. So learning to deal obviously with that higher heart rate and also being able to keep a lower one helps. So fitness definitely is a thing. And if there's one thing that I've noticed with the winners is they're actually the guys that are willing to do the extra stuff as well. Like you make a suggestion to them that they're going to do hill sprints in the morning, and they go do them, and they don't ask twice. It's like, what should I do? Well, you need to do 2 hill sprints and 1 long run on Sundays, and all of a sudden that they're doing it. You know, they didn't come to you for advice and then ignore it because they know better. You know, so that kind of coachability for those guys is definitely a common trait.
Well, I think the other thing, I think that separates like the Alexes, the Colbys, and any other kind of guy that succeeds in MMA is they come to the gym not wanting, not to hear what they want to hear. They want to come in and hear what they don't want to hear, in the sense that, you know, you need to keep your hands up. You need to do the simple things right. You know, you need, like you said, you need to do your cardio work. You need to do this. And a lot of guys, they think they don't like to hear that. They like to, you know, and I've had some really good guys at my gym, and they've left because they didn't like what I was telling them, you know, and they went to other gyms because their coach would say, "Oh, you're the best in the gym," you know. Man, if you do good, I'll tell you good. If you do bad, I'm going to tell you bad. I'm not here to, you know, make you, you know, tap you on the back and tell you you're going to be a superstar if you're not. You know, I'm going to be a realist about it. You know, I'm not going to, you know, tell you something that you're not. And that's what I find that a lot of people don't like. You know, they don't like to be told.
Well, and
if you want to progress, you've got to listen. Sorry?
I think that's the champion's tightrope. You walk somewhere in between self-hate and self-belief, because you're always on that tightrope. I literally was never able to like watch my fights because I would see a million mistakes, go back to the gym, and I'd be like just constantly fixing. And I'm still like that now with my jiu-jitsu, my fitness. Like, your fitness is never good enough. Your technique is always broken. And that's one of the greatest life lessons as well. It's like, guess what, motherfuckers? Your life's actually always broken as well. And we should be working to make it better every second of every day. You know, like that's a really good life lesson.
Well, it is. And it's like I tell a lot of the guys, it's not how good you are on your good days, it's how good you are on your bad days, you know. And that cliche is so true, you know, because, you know, while you're winning and you know everything's great, you know, of course you can be happy and everything, but you're going to be there your days where, you know, your body aches or you don't perform, and the guy you usually put it over, you don't get it, you know, and you go, oh, you know, the guy that has got a strong mind, he goes, well, tomorrow I'm going to beat him, you know, or I'm going to do this extra set, or I'm going to do that, you know, not look at it and go, well, I'm just going to give up.
Yeah, awesome. Now, your kids program, let's talk about that, because you just said you love your kids program, and I really like my kids program too. But a lot of people have real different ideas about when the kids should compete, this, that, and everything else. And, you know, honestly, I have 2 kids programs. I have a mixed martial arts program where we do striking with takedowns. And I have a jiu-jitsu program, which concentrates 100% on grappling. And sometimes we make them do takedowns against noodles or someone with boxing gloves. But I kind of have a rule that until people aren't flinching in the gym between 10 and 15, and no one's been able to manage it, no kid under 12 or 13 has been able to manage it, they're not allowed to take fights. So at what stage do you let them take boxing and kickboxing fights? And what do you think is the most important base for your kids in their martial arts?
Well, I'm the same as you. I've got two different kids programs. The first one is my Warriors program, so it's more of a mixed martial arts, but mine's more it's punching, kicking. There is a little bit of takedown in that, but the for each belt that they get, there is a self-defense part to it. So the first one is, they've got to get, for the first levels, they've got to learn how to get out of headlocks, but they've got 6 different headlocks, Then comes like tackles and grabs for the next belt. Then chokes and grabs from behind and in front. And then for their brown belts to their black belt level, they've got to make their own up. So they've got to, I can't keep spoon feeding them. And they've got to work out, what if someone grabs you this way or that way, and they've got to figure it out for themselves. I mean, I guide them, but I want them to make a routine where they work out themselves how people can grab them or how people can attack them and how they're going to get out of it. And then I help them, oh, yes, this is right or that's wrong. And I did go to, I started to get some guys to go into these point type tournaments, but it was more upsetting, and not so much for the kids as the parents would really, I think my child should have won that, and I do this, and go up and complain. I'll go, what? So they're going to take the prize off the other kid that just beat your kid, and we've got 2 kids crying. So it isn't going to work that way, your kid won. Let's just leave it at that, and just got too much for me, And then I got the jiu-jitsu program where I encourage the kids to compete a bit more in that because, again, it tests their – and I don't push it on anyone. I just say it's up to yourself whether you want to compete or not. And then if they want to compete, they've got to come in and do extra training because I only do the jiu-jitsu twice a week and the striking twice a week. So if they want to compete, they've got to come in 4 or 5 days a week to – so if they go in there, they've got to go in there and be competitive, So they've got to show me that they can come in that time and be more committed than the other kids,
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Again, I always find my job for the kids isn't to make them compete; it's to inspire them to want to compete. And I do the same with adults. And I actually have a really big adults jiu-jitsu competition team because I would just remind them all that if you want to be able to use your jiu-jitsu, even if it's for self-defense, that you got to pressure test it. So you might hate competing, but I want you to compete once a year because it's good for you. And you start saying things like that, and all of a sudden the courage in them lifts because they start thinking about it. Yeah, maybe I should. And the kids are exactly the same. You're like, what? If you really want to be successful in life, every now and then you got to dig deep and do things that scare you. So if you want to do something that's a little bit scary that you'll get a lot out of, maybe have a think about competing. And it's actually really interesting to actually see people, like, without you telling them that they have to compete, stick their hands up. And sometimes it's the kids that you don't think we're going to either, which I really, really like.
Well, yeah, and I'm hearing you there, like I said, the guys that do extra, and then I get a kid that's just started and he might be a bit nerdy or something. He goes, I want to have a go at that. And I'm just surprised. And then I always say to them, look, it's your first comp. You've got to understand some of these kids have been competing, especially at those lower belts. They might have been, they're either, if they're an adult, they're on the verge of being a blue belt, or as a kid, they might be on the verge of being a grey belt, and they're still in that division there. And they, your first comp, it might be their 20th comp. And I said, you don't expect to win, but just go out there and give it your best shot. And then one day you'll get there as well. And then sometimes it surprises me that some kids that you don't think go in there and win their division. And I just go, wow, like that's inspiring. The kids, come in there, he's got a lot of heart, and done it.
Yeah,
I mean look at Colby when his first comp, he got DQ'd and he was just about to quit. I think he was like 12 or 14 or somewhere between there. Might have been 13 years old, and he got DQ'd. And I remember on the trip home, he was saying he didn't want to do it anymore. And I said, no, come back to the gym, you'll be right, And he came back, and the next time he went, he got better and better, and he was like a blue belt at 16, and it was good because the same guys that were in that group, they all got their blue belts at 16, and they were all still competing and everything else. But Colby had ambitions to be an MMA guy, so once he got to the 17, 18, he didn't, he sort of he does the jiu-jitsu out of fight camps, now, like maybe at Christmas time, if all the fights are done, he'll go, I'll just go into a comp for a bit of fun, because he likes to stay competitive, so it's good.
Which is good, and like you guys live in a wonderful spot, and I'm sure everybody wants to go live in Wollongong and start a jiu-jitsu gym. So I'm sure that there's more there than there used to be. It's a beautiful part of the country. Now, martial arts wise, what's your favorite thing about running a martial arts club? Because often people think that we run martial arts clubs to either live through our fighters or to make heaps of money. Neither of those are correct. So for me anyway, what's your favorite thing about running a martial arts club?
Me, personally, it's just watching people get better, changing people's lives. That's, and getting that feedback from whether it's a parent saying the kid was doing really bad at school, he was getting picked on. He's now got a bit more confidence. He's good at school. He's got friends. I like that. And then with the adults, it's the same, watching, someone that might be overweight or got, some mental issue or something, and watching the progress in them from being sort of down and then coming better. Or me, you get the tough guys, the gangster type people, and I don't want them in the gym, and I'll kick people out that change their lives around because they want to, like I said, there's other gyms that accept those people and they can train there, but I don't want that. I only want good people in my gym, I want people to be respectful, and if you can't be respectful to me, that says that you're not going to be respectful to other people, and I don't want to teach you how to fight, because you've got to be till there's a point where you need to defend yourself, obviously, but as a whole, just the basic things of treating humans, with respect,
it's a high performance culture as well. It's a high performance culture, and you've proved it. It's a high performance culture, and you've proved it's a high performance culture. Like you've only got to read the book about the most famous All Blacks team ever. They had a no dickhead policy, and the team would sit that guy down and go, "Excuse me." The senior members would say, "You're acting like a dickhead. We actually have a no dickhead policy. You need to go around and apologize to all these people, or we're going to vote you off the team." And it's the same thing for a martial arts club. If we're going to be choking each other and ripping on each other's arms and doing things that create suffering to get stronger, then you've got to have this amazing trust with people. So it's real important to have a no dickheads policy and a clear set of standards for people's character. And I actually think that's a high performance culture, and it's something that I've been trying to instill because I would like at some point in time for people to take fighting further than I did, I just think that restorative kind of champion mindset is good for the person that, say, wants to lose 10 kilos, or the person that wants to be the next Australian Muay Thai or MMA champion. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it is.
What's your favorite thing about being in the having a fighter in the UFC now? Has that brought you extra students? Is Wollongong going crazy for MMA right now?
Well, look, sometimes it can be a bit of a hindrance in the sense that, you get the average person who, and I've had this from people I know, that they go, "Oh, I'm not good enough to come and train at your gym because, everybody's a superstar." And I've got to let them know that, there's only, a very small percentage of people want to actually go out there and compete. 95% of people just want to get fit, get stronger and everything else. And, Treco, Bernardo Treco.
Yeah. I've actually fought on the same show as him when he had his first MMA fight. So I was watching him warm up and stealing things. As soon as he left the room, I'd write it down, and then I would go. I took that home and trained it. So thanks, Mr. Treco, for doing that for me. I stole some stuff off you.
Yeah. Well, our jiu-jitsu, we've aligned ourselves with Treco. I've been with him for a while, and how I developed a friendship. We'd go up to his gym. That was like when we first started, before we even got into the UFC, his gym on a Saturday morning was the place to come and spar. Robert Whittaker would be there, Richie Walsh. You had Richie Vass, Manny Rodriguez. Anybody that was anybody would come there Saturday morning to spar. And I became friends with him, and our friendship still goes on. And I remember just asking him, like saying, "Oh, you must be good that you've got Richie and Manny here in the UFC, and the gym must be pumping." He goes, "No, sometimes it's a hindrance because of that factor that the average person looks at it and goes, no, I can't train here because they only accept these high level guys," and couldn't be further from the truth, and to train with those people, and you see they're the easiest and better people to train with because they've got nothing to prove, and they're a lot. I mean, especially like Alex, he'll help anybody, like people blow out. He'll be at the counter and he's the first guy to come over and shake your hand and introduce himself, because that's like one of the policies at my gym. If you come in, well, not so much now because of this new distancing, but before that, if anybody new came in, old members have to come in and make that person feel welcome, because you just remember the first time you came into the gym, how intimidating you might have felt, or unsure you might have felt. So you got to make these people feel comfortable, and the more people you got, the better atmosphere you got, and you never know who that person might be.
Yeah, I love that, Joe, and that's a really good rule, and it's quite common in jiu-jitsu gyms. I wish it was more common in some of the Muay Thai and boxing gyms as well. There's definitely it's definitely happening. I think martial arts is exploding around the country, and we're all kind of getting a little bit better at marketing ourselves and getting the right people into our clubs as well, and creating that culture, because it's really, really important. Hey, Carl, we all got to say good day to Carl, all the way from NZ. Carl has a great team over there, and we all look up to Carl and what he does over there as well. So, speaking of Carl, you guys have been over to New Zealand a little bit for training camps and stuff, and you're obviously this time in Australia for this camp. What are the differences been like for you, and are you super excited for this next fight?
Yeah, well, it was a short notice fight. I mean, look, we go over to New Zealand mainly because we can't get enough full-time training partners, and how could I say? There's a trust thing, as you know, that coming into a camp, you've got to have guys that are going to push you but not hurt you, or try and the main thing is hurt you. They want you to win the fight, so they need to be there for you. And the guys at City Kickboxing, they opened up the doors. Got a really good friendship, the whole camp now, Brad and Eugene and myself, we've been on Zoom or some other form of thing, going over our tactics, I videotape the sparring, they put their input in, so it's even though MMA is an individual sport, it's still a team sport. So you need that team behind you. And this time, because of everything that's happened, we couldn't. We were lucky that we got an exemption from the government to train full time. So I then reached out, to a few of the local boys, So Jamie Malaki jumped on board straight away. Josh Coulabar, we got Blake Donnelly, Trent Girdham, Alan Philpott, and I'll probably forgetting a few guys, but a lot of guys have come down. And these guys have actually moved down here. And they've moved down to Wingdang. We've got them some cabins and that, which are Wingdang's it's a holiday spot. So,
awesome.
So we've got accommodation, and they're living here. We've got our own little training bubble like the NRL guys, and we're just training full time. So we got, and they're all good guys. They're all here for Alex, and I couldn't thank these guys enough because we couldn't do it without them.
Yeah, and
I've got
good
a couple of
to see that cooperation as well, because there's Australia's really bad for having a little bit of a tall poppy syndrome, and sometimes like the way we're going to compete and win internationally and get more people in the sport is by having that kind of cooperation. And it's actually a credit to you, Joe, being able to put that together. So it shows great leadership on your behalf. So you need to give yourself a good pat on the back for that as well. So that's awesome. I love hearing that.
Well, to me, I mean, a lot of, I mean, you see it more in, like you said before, in the boxing and the Muay Thai, where it's us and them. Where to me, I think the MMA's got a lot of jiu-jitsu background to it. So some of the guys that we've built, you know, the best friendships with are the guys that we've fought, you know, like say with Anton, you know, like you couldn't, what a terrific guy, you know, we fought, we shook hands at the end and then we became good friends, you know, we see each other and we look, you know, we've got a genuine friendship, you know, you were in his corner. There was no resentment against it. At the end, we all shook hands. Now, look, we can still talk. If you need anything, I'll be there for you, and I know if you need anything, I'll be there for you, and that's the way it should be, you know. And even if we have to fight again, mate, at the end, we fight, we shake hands, and we're friends again. There's no, to me, it's like a game of football. You know, I'm not going to hate you because there's got to be a winner and there's got to be a loser, and that's what I tell the guys. You know, like we're going out there to win, but it's nothing personal. It's just a sport, you know. And we've got to keep it that way. I think we're as a sport, we're very, very small. So we've got to really stick together because the media would have nothing more than to say, look, we're barbaric and we're this and we're that, you know, and we're not, you know, like, and I know your gym, you'd be teaching the same things about the loyalty, the respect.
It would help people run better clubs too. It really would, you know, because I know that there's, you know, like there's always this tribalism that happens in fight clubs, and I love that too. You know, like I want to beat the guys down the road, but I run competitions so we can have a battlefield and compete with each other. But if you had business problems and you were struggling, and you said, Ian, how do you get your members in, or how do you get you guys to compete? I'll have a coffee and I'll tell you everything, absolutely everything. It doesn't bother me at all, just because I want more people to do it, you know. And I think
exactly
that kind of the scarcity thinking of the past from maybe traditional martial artists that didn't allow people to cross train is quickly disappearing, which is exciting, because I think the next 10 years is going to be even bigger than the last 10 years that we had. So I'm pumped for it every day.
Yeah, well, it is. And you got to think, you know, here in Australia and New Zealand, we're such, you know, population-wise, we're so small, and yet, you know, we've got ourselves a whole lot of UFC champions, you know, and we've got BJJ champions, and we've had boxing champions, and everything else, and it just shows the mentality of the Australian and New Zealand people that, you know, no matter what we might be small in number, but we're big in heart, you know.
Yeah, and it's something that politically we've kind of had fight sports shut down, but we've always loved it. Like Australia was the first place where a black heavyweight boxer was able to fight for the world title in Sydney, Australia. Like we have a rich history that outside our bureaucracy. So while the Australian Medical Association and our government has tried to shut it down, you can't shut down the Australian fighting spirit. And I think once we get rid of that red tape, I'm also always very cautious of people wanting to start more sporting commissions and boxing commissions, because I think the government has a really bad history of shutting down combat sports. So I would rather that they remove the red tape and everybody just did the right thing, because I think at the end of the day, you're going to get sued whether that red tape is there or not if you've done the wrong thing. But I'm excited. Now, I've got one more question before we wrap up, because I don't want to keep you for too long, because you've been busy training for this champ camp. Now, obviously, we want more people to do martial arts. I want more people to do martial arts. What is the one thing that somebody can do who wants to do martial arts besides just jumping in the front door? Because we know they need to do that. What's one thing that they can do to help themselves release the anxiety to get involved with the martial arts club?
Well, I think, you know, exercise is exercise. Now, by doing martial arts, you're exercising. but you're also learning a life skill, and that's something you can't get in anything else, and hopefully you never have to do it, but that life skill can mean protecting your family or a loved one or anybody, and that's something that you can't get in any other exercise. You can only get that through doing martial arts, or and martial arts I include boxing, all the arts, and you can't. You can go to a CrossFit gym, great, you're going to get fit. You can go to a bodybuilding gym, you're going to look good. You can do that, but if the shit ever hits the fan, learning how to fight and defend yourself is the only life skill that's going to help you there, Whether it means, man, I've got to sit and run, or whether, hey, I'm going to stand and bang, it's the only thing that's going to give you that, because, people throwing punches at you, and look, I've done security for nearly 35 years. I've run nightclubs and pubs, and that side of it, I've seen it so much where I can see two guys about to start. I'm coming down to stop the fight, and the guy, I see the punch coming. The other guy sees the punch, but he doesn't react, and he gets hit. And it's all a matter of, you're used to people throwing punches. You get used to reacting to them. And if you're at a good club, you're going to learn to react the right way.
Yeah, even something simple as just knowing that distance control. That this isn't the right distance for me to be standing. So he's going to hit me, and that. Again, I love that because it shows that you're a true martial artist, and you think about like the benefits of martial arts first, which is just the confidence and ability to defend yourself. And it's one of the reasons I still don't have mirrors in my gym, because I have a no selfie policy, only friendies only. There's nothing worse than seeing a grown ass man taking pictures of himself in the toilet after a workout. Okay, so I'm going to call you all out now. Stop it! It's ridiculous. Take a picture with one of your mates that you're lifting weights with, please. All right. Thanks, Joe. I'm going to end this broadcast here, but I really, really appreciate it. And I reckon I'm due for a good holiday down the coast. It'll be good fun.
Yeah, no, welcome anytime, man. You know that.